Greetings, greetings. So I have said that basically this kind of approach of mine, it's very different. We all know that now. Like, this is what I've been saying. I feel it's very different anyway. I'd love it for lots of people to come forward and say, actually, this is exactly what we think too. Like, and it's not as different as you think. That would be wonderful. So here's to hoping that I'm wrong. But yeah, like what's going to happen next? So in scripture, when we read things like, the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective, and that when we read that, James, I think, is it James, who's very kind of, you think I'm being direct. I think about him. Your prayers are not being answered because you have mixed motives. Um, there's definitely a strong connection between uh, purity in heart and effectiveness in prayer, and effectiveness full stop in the Christian journey. I think about the parable of the different soils. So, where the sower sowed seed. Some lands on the solid ground, and some lands on the where there are weeds and thorns, others where it gets scorched up by the sun, and so on and so forth. But then some land on fertile soil. And he says that basically the stuff that lands on fertile soil is 30 times, and I think even up to 100 times more productive than the stuff where it's mixed in with something else. This idea of purity, being unmixed, uncompromising, unmixed, that the pure shall reap a harvest 30 to 100 times more than if there's any kind of mixture. The idea of the circumcision of the heart, a cutting away of all things that compromise my relationship with God. And um, think of a man whose house is built on solid ground. So what I think a lot of people have done, a lot of Christians have done, is they've taken all those things and put them in one package, and that package is called salvation. So because we are saved, all of those things are automatic. Righteousness is automatic. Being fertile soil is automatic. Walking on the way that leads to life as opposed to the way that leads to destruction, that narrow path, is automatic because we're saved. Having a house on the rock, that's automatically there because we're saved. So I just never done that. I've never done that. I've looked at all of these things and applied them to my life and thought either that's me, that describes me, or it doesn't. And honest truth, for the most part, and in the grace of God, this is grace, is in his love I have been able to admit without feeling shameful, without feeling ashamed, sorry. I have been able to admit I'm not there. My house isn't on the rock. And the way we often pray, and when someone sees that a storm is coming, Lord, please let there not be a storm. And my approach would tend to be, Lord, put my house on the rock, bring the storm, let me weather that storm. Different approaches, different ways of praying. The path of least resistance versus the path of the conqueror. Two different approaches, constant clashing with what people call grace and what I believe is actually grace. Actual real grace strengthening you up to be a conqueror, false comforting non-grace enabling you in your path of least resistance. Run away. So these different approaches, very, very different approaches. Having the approach that I have, sooner or later, one would hope that I'd actually become a conqueror, right? You'd actually hope I'd do it. I actually hope I'd cut away the sin that's in my heart, that's been stopping me from connecting with him, and actually live the truth that people said wasn't possible, right? That's the hope. Now, I think I'm there today. I think I'm there. And I think this is long term. I think I'm there, and I'm there to stay. I'm here, and I'm here to stay. I don't think that's going away. So that's exciting, actually. That's got certain ramifications, which I'm going to tell you about in the next video.